Hi everyone, welcome back to Misinformation in Science and Society. Here to listen, not to judge. I'm your host Annie, and today with us we have Kim Cobb. Okay, so could you please introduce yourself a little bit and kind of what you do?
Sure. So it would help me first to understand what where this is going to in terms of how to help best, provide information. What's the purpose again?
Yeah, so I host like a video podcast kind of thing on YouTube.
Okay.
And it's about like misinformation in science and society. And then so yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah. So my name is Kim Cobb. I'm the director of the Institute at Brown for Environment and Society. I'm a climate scientist by training, and I'm trying to advance climate solutions.
Yeah, awesome. So, why did you choose this career initially? And I guess what's your favorite part of doing what you do now?
Yeah, so I've always been, I guess, drawn to the sciences and really was fortunate to be training in an era when climate change was becoming a household topic and something that was a huge challenge and opportunity for earth scientists, ocean scientists, atmospheric scientists. And so was fortunate enough to become a student at Scripps Institution of Oceanography back in the early 90s on the heels of the 1991 Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report, which was really world changing for me to understand the full scope of the climate challenge. And of course, I was very drawn to think about contributing to understanding the impacts better. And of course, now after a whole career as a climate scientist, really eager to work with community partners, business partners, policy partners, and colleagues from different fields to try to develop and deploy solutions about as quickly as we possibly can.
Hmm. Yeah. So, um, since this is like gonna be like about like misinformation, kind of, what do you think are some of like the biggest or like most common like misinformation about like climate change that like you hear? Because I don't know if your like perspective is like different than mine, like what if misinformation I hear about. So,
Yeah, sure. So, mis and disinformation has been a constant part of the conversation around our climate future and the choices that we have to make to minimize losses and damages and suffering. This goes back decades now. So, as a climate scientist, what it has felt like to me is a changing set of talking points on the mis and disinformation side. It seemed like we were locked for decades in a conversation about whether human-caused global warming was even a thing. And now, of course, we move past that because it is so blatantly obvious that fossil fuel emissions are warming the planet, and that's having any number of devastating consequences. And so then the conversation seemed to shift to, well, maybe it's happening, but it's really not going to be that bad. And that was like the last decade or so, I would say, and recent years of just devastating climate impacts around the world, but especially here in the United States, have further shifted that conversation and made those talking points moot. And so now the talking points are, okay, it's here, it's bad, but it's going to be too expensive and disruptive to actually do anything about it. And so that's where we're stuck right now, really, is thinking about helping the public understand that is, again, the same instrument of obstruction and delay as has occurred over the last 20 years. And now they're trying to make this very misguided economic argument when the true costs of climate change are now in the hundreds of billions of dollars to our economy every year. So, I'm not sure how they're adding up the cost and benefit here. But of course, we're making some progress with the new Inflation Reduction Act here and helping Americans see that by moving to more energy efficient, lower carbon energy sources, we're going to have a healthier and more thriving population with tons of jobs and a growing economy, as opposed to one that's tethered to legacy fossil fuel infrastructure that's dirty and contaminating and poisonous, of course, and is causing our planet to warm. quickly with its own host of impacts. So these are the choices in front of us, and happy to see that American public opinion is shifting very quickly to an evidence-based framework for investments in our clean energy future and our healthier fossil-free communities. And it's just a question of how quickly this can happen. And obviously, the sources of disinformation right now are still very well entrenched, very well supported by certain vested industries. And this is something that really can't happen fast enough in terms of turning away from those kinds of energy sources. So we're turning the tide. It's not fast enough, but it is a transition that is already underway with force.
Yeah, for sure. So why do you think it's like so important that like everyone is like informed about like the right information, like why truth is like so important? Um, yeah, just in general, also like in this case with climate.
Yeah, so historically, it's been really important for the public to understand enough about the science to understand our future choices, right?
Mm-hmm.
That are really going to impact thousands. Well, actually, now we're up to an entire planet worth of lives for decades to come. And so, science has been very clear on the links between fossil fuel emissions and warming, and now warming and any number of climate and weather extremes, for decades, really. And so it is really important to be able to communicate those findings and that incredibly robust set of science directly to the public so that they can understand what the stakes are, right? That's as simple as that. And so when you have this, machinery of mis and disinformation obstructing those key messages and challenging the core findings of the science, then of course you move away from a need to immediately get to work to avoid these horrific outcomes, and you delay really meaningful decisions that would begin to turn this around. So, it's been critically important to share scientific findings with the public and policymakers. It always has been. It always will be, as we need to really move towards an evidence-based platform for decision making. And I'm not just talking about emissions reductions, although that is critically important to avoid the worst outcomes of climate change, but also with respect to how we can harness that amazing source of climate information to keep communities and our economy safe and resilient as the planet continues to warm for the next couple decades. Actually, critically important to have science at the table. So, these are some of the ways in which science has played a key role in the discussion about our climate future and the decisions and policy making. But obviously, it's in some ways swimming upstream because of the vast machinery of mis and disinformation that we are swimming against.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And I can see like I saw like on your website like pictures and saw that like the science behind a lot of this, which is really cool to see. Um so how um how do like people in like the climate like science like field, I guess, try to like tackle or like avoid mis or disinformation other than like to like spread correct information to like inform people? Is there like something else, or like is there like a process when the information is like being like uh sent out or like published? Is there like um what are some things that like are done to like avoid
Yeah. So, first of all, the National Climate Assessment is a product that's put together by 13 different federal agencies every few years. And it really is the synthesis of all the available climate science information relative to the United States. It's available on a website. It's called the Fourth National Climate Assessment. It's published in 2018, and there's a fifth National Climate Assessment underway right now. So I point people that are interested in understanding what climate change means for the United States, what we know, what we don't know, to that amazing report. And it's really spelled out in pretty plain English. which is also so important and connects many aspects of climate change to our daily lives, to the communities that we live in, to our economy, to vulnerable communities, to indigenous populations, etc. So I would really work on getting access to those kinds of reports for the good information. Now, for folks that are interested in understanding a little bit more about the machinery of mis and disinformation, I'm incredibly proud of the fact that at Brown, here within the Institute at Brown for Environment and Society, we have what's called the Climate Social Science Network, cssn.org. And people can go there and understand what the latest scholarship helps us understand about the sources of mis and disinformation, how they're connected and funded across this country and beyond to obstruct and delay climate action. And so that is scholarly work. Many students are involved in that. There are 350 scholars that are part of this global network distributed around the world that are all aimed at really shining a bright light on these sources of mis and disinformation and making sure that people understand where they're coming from and that they can avoid, basically getting derailed by mis and disinformation out there. And of course, alternatively, as I said before, find the proper sources, the National Climate Assessment here in the United States and the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change at the global scale synthesis, so that we can all stay abreast of the latest science and what it means for our lives, our nation, and the world.
Absolutely. And those are things that it's nice that those are things that regular people can access and be informed about. So I think yeah, those are all my questions about misinformation. So just for fun, what inspires you in life, I guess? Is there an idea, a person, a book, so that?
Well, I think most of my inspiration these days comes from my 4 children. So I am the mother to kids who range in age from 12 to 15 now. And so whenever I think about their future and the future of their entire generation and all the generations to come afterwards, including, their children, et cetera, and grandchildren, that really reminds me of this moment that we're living in and what an amazing opportunity is to be alive right now and to be able to contribute to turning this climate change path around such that we can secure their futures. And I hope I live to see the day that we will be cooling this planet. But if I don't, I am dead set on having them be alive to see the moment where we begin cooling this planet. And that is within our reach. And it's really work that we will be doing this decade on their behalf to get as far as and as fast as we can towards that goal while I can. So that's what keeps me going day in, day out these days, and just recognizing how close we are to turning this corner and trying to work with the many, many, many thousands of people around the planet who wake up every morning with the same goal in mind. So to contribute to that community, to contribute to that momentum is an amazing intergenerational honor for me.
Definitely. Yeah, that's really inspiring for me, as well, to hear that. And then, so just to close this out, do you have any advice for people, especially teens, either about the climate, about information, or just general life advice, anything?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen so much passion, enthusiasm across young people for climate action. And this is something that we see bubbling up in every city in every country around the world. And of course, the youth do have an extremely important voice. And so finding ways to use that is, I think, important from a personal level as we move through an era of accelerating climate change, but also with respect to actually getting it done at the scales that you can influence. And so, there's for example, an environmental club at my daughter's high school which is trying to raise awareness around the climate change impacts in Rhode Island, and how we can be climate engaged as a household, as a school, as a city, and as a state. So I'm really try to work with those folks, and they're doing amazing work. And then, at Barrington, for example, there's a electronic EV bus initiative that's making its way through the city council. And so I'm really excited to kind of work with them as the youth voices, as the school bus riders, literally, who are deeply impacted by the diesel emissions that are coming out of our current diesel fleet, and kind of make sure that their voices are at the table and that they are effectively working together on those kinds of initiatives. So that's what I would say. Find colleagues, find other friends and students who want to get together and create a voice at whatever scale that means to you. And that's just, I think, important for mental health, and again, moving ourselves forward here. And there are wins to be scored all over the place, but we have to work together to identify them. You can't have those wins notched alone. It really is a collective effort. So yeah, find your people and get engaged.
All right, perfect. So, that would be it for today. Thank you so
Okay,
much for your
great. Well, thanks
time.
so much, Annie. Send me the link, okay?
All right, I will.
And
Thank
bye
you.
now. Bye now.
Okay.